alcohol and the diol and the dicarboxylic acid is the dimer, because these are two different functional groups together, and then you can start to combine the dimers through polymerization once the dimers are formed. Okay, so page 452, number 12, gives you some examples with polymerization. Condensation polymerization. So we're almost done here. Polyamides are formed by condensation polymerization as well. So here's the deal with polyamides, is they are polymers that have nitrogen in them. Okay? So proteins are structural analogs, right? So as a reminder, proteins are structural materials found in living organisms. So all proteins are constructed from the polymerization of the 20 amino acids that we have in our body, right? And we have essential and non-essential amino acids. Non-essential we don't need to get from our diet, essential we do. But they all have this amino group, they all have nitrogen. So your functional group for polyamides is this. So here's your carbon chain, double bond O, NH2. So anytime you see that, you'll see this as a polyamide. So it's very similar to polyesters. So with polyamides, you need a dicarboxylic acid, and then rather than amine, you need a diamine. So you'll have nitrogen groups on both sides, just like you would have carboxyl groups on both sides here. And then you can combine these to make a polyamide dimer, and then polymerize that from there. So the polyamides are strong fibers because of the amide linkages. All right? The amide functional group is this double bond ONH. You can have hydrogen bonding between the carbon and the nitrogen bonding groups, and this makes really, really strong molecules, right? Because of the electronegativity of the nitrogen. All right? These guys usually form in sheets, kind of like graphite. So this is from your textbook, but you can see this polypeptide reaction to make protein. And this is condensation polymerization. So you have a carboxyl group that's going to bond with the amine group, and then you make this amide linkage. So you can see this end was bonded with this end, and water was removed to make that happen. Okay, so the OH and the H were removed to make that happen, and then you have the amide group made here, and then you can make polymers of that. So this shows that as well. Okay, where you have a dicarboxylic acid and a diamine. Okay, and then you have the nitrogen groups bond with the carboxyl groups in repeating units. So your dimer would be the diamine and the dicarboxylic acid together. Then water is removed as a waste product. So this is an example of polyamide sheets, right? So that's a Kevlar vest. That's the Punisher's vest. And you can see that this is Kevlar. So Kevlar is used for bulletproof vests and military grade protection and things like that. So you can see that the polyamide is actually got a benzene ring in it. Okay? So there's benzene in sheets here. Right? Kevlar is being used in things like military grade aluminum as well. And we use that in new trucks like F-150s. You guys have seen this in Bio 20, and we're almost done here. Polysaccharides are repeating units of sugars, and they're also formed through condensation polymerization, right? So polysaccharides, right, are these combinations of glucose isomers. So simple sugars undergo polymerization to form carbohydrates, right? Your monosaccharides, which are your monomers of sugar, are glucose, fructose, and galactose. You can make disaccharides, which would be your dimers from there, right? And those are, right, sucrose and maltose and lactose. And then we can make repeating units of those. Okay? Sucrose is table sugar, right? Maltose is what you find in beer. Lactose is milk sugar. So glucose and glucose makes maltose. Glucose and fructose makes sucrose. Glucose and galactose makes lactose, right? As a dimer. So, these are your main polysaccharide structures that we see in our diet. Starch, which we can cleave up into glucose and make ATP out of. And this is cellulose. We call this fiber in our diet. Now these are isomers of each other. So this has an alpha linkage of glucose, and this has a beta linkage. So these are all in the same orientation, so these glucose molecules. And then here, there's one glucose molecule that's right side up and one's upside down, and we can't digest that. So polymers of monosaccharides, right, are what these polysaccharides are. Starches are long chains of glucose. You have amylose and amylopectin, which are different types of starch. Glycogen is basically animal sugar. It's what's stored in your liver. Cellulose is fiber, and that's what makes the bark and the cell walls of plants. So just so you remember from Bio 20, amylose, this is vegetable sugar. Amylopectin is branched, which is why it's sweeter. This is what you'll find in fruit, right? Pectin is what we make jam out of. Cellulose is fiber, and it's very stable because of hydrogen bonding, so we don't have enzymes to break it down. And then this is what glycogen looks like. It's actually like little 3D spirals. It's stored in a very condensed fashion in our liver. So we pack it real tight. Okay? So that's our primary stored energy resource. Page 458, numbers 18 through 20, and page 460, numbers 6 through 12, talk about condensation polymerization as well. This is an example of an innovative plastic that comes from wood pulp. All right, this is cellulose acetate. This is replacing a lot of plastics made by fossil fuels. These are bioplastics. So we can take from the pulp of wood, we can treat the layers of the cork cambium with acids and turn them into different types of plastics. And then these types of plastics decompose in landfill. Right? So if we continue to have plastic bags, more and more of our plastic bags will be used out of cellulose acetate as the technology comes along. And it's made by condensation polymerization as well. Anyway, that's the end of Chem 30. I'll give you some more information about when your assessments are for Orgo, but you've got all of your lecture material now, and hopefully we get this done before January 14th for your final assessment. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll talk to you later.